The venue of the Challenge Round 1951 was Sydney, Australia, Venice to the south, second largest city in the British Commonwealth of Nations at Christmas time, when the population of 1 3/4 million would be basking under a hot midsummer sun. There's no thought of a white Christmas in these latitudes. One morning in mid-November came an overseas aircraft carrying top-line tennis players from 14,000 miles away. Sweden, the winner of the European zone, had accepted Australia's invitation to hold the Interzone Final in Melbourne, Victoria. One member of the Swedish team, Lennart Bergelin on the right, had not lost a Davis Cup match for 3 years. Over the last 5 years, Bergelin and Torsten Johansson have brought Sweden's name to the forefront of international tennis. Their teammate, Sven Davidsson, is picked by many as Europe's #1 player of the future. Bertil Blomqvist, the youngest member, here for experience, and non-playing captain Gunnar Gaylin. After losing to America in 4 consecutive challenge rounds, Australia in 1950 brought the coveted cup back to the land of the kangaroo. 9 days ahead of the Swedes, here is the 1951 American team to dispute her right to keep it. Their serious intentions were obvious by the presence of Captain Frank Shields, Davis Cup player 31, 32, 34. Jack Kramer, professional coach, needing no introduction and ranked high on the list of history's great players. Dick Savitt, Australian and Wimbledon singles champion, already conquered Australia's leading player Frank Sedgman. Victor Satius, United States national singles finalist in 1951, who defeated Savitt on his way to the finals. 21-year-old Tony Trebert, who crashed his way into big tennis only 2 years ago, and is expected to be one of the really big names in the game. Ted Schroeder, veteran Davis Cup player, internationally known for the quality of his tennis and his strong fighting heart. American junior champion Hamilton Richardson, who arrived from Tokyo a few days after his teammates, here for big game experience with an eye to the coming years. Athletes used to think that tennis was a milksop game, but that idea went out after Brooks, McLaughlin, Tilden, Perry, Vines, Budge and Kramer had shown the world the stamina required. The training methods vary according to the ideas of the respective captains. There is, however, a common object: to produce fit fighting machines. The Americans favored outdoor exercise, whilst the Australians divided their time between the open air and a gymnasium. To the individual captain falls the task of preparing the right muscles, of knowing which they are and what exercises to avoid. For instance, they don't swim or ride bicycles. If a player's forearm is weak, it must be strengthened. If his wind is faulty, his lungs must be given plenty of work. His stomach and back muscles must throw off any sign of strain. Leg muscles must not bind. Like a true thoroughbred, your ace tennis player must be brought to perfection coincident with the big match. No late hours, not too much tennis, a careful watch kept on morale. Make no mistake about it, the training is severe, and behind the scenes, this is where the captain can make or break his team. The program for the Swedish players was different. The tennis season in Sweden lasts for only 4 months of the year, and that on hard or wooden courts. They came from cold northern latitudes to fast Australian grass and thirsty weather. Many thought their practice was lethargic and inadequate. They were not obviously preparing for the American net rushing game. But their captain faced perhaps a harder dual task. A man who has been called in turn enigmatic, suave, taciturn and polite, Gunnar Gaylin. Many thought he might be playing possum. Certainly the Swedish form was closely watched by USA captain Frank Shields and Australia's master tactician Harry Hopman. Yes, it's a cat and mouse game. Each is watching the other. The day will come when close friends off the court are separated by a tennis net to fight bitterly and alone for the honor of their country. The tennis-loving public were given a good chance to study form in the New South Wales Championships in November. All teams competed, but the Swedes found it hard to settle down and were quickly eliminated. Mervyn Rose outshone Ken McGregor, the American Victor Satius won the singles, and the doubles went to the Australians McGregor and Sedgman. But the Victorian Championships only served to complicate the issue. The Swedes were again eliminated early. Sedgman beat Seychelles and won the championship from Savitt. And, just to hope, McGregor and Sedgman did not play together and America won the doubles. Enthusiasm followed the muddled maze of championship form. Tennis fever began to spread. Newspapers allotted increased space and were avidly read in all states. The face of the centre court White City began to change. Post-war building restrictions would only allow tubular steel construction on a temporary basis. Courageous management took on the increase from 6 to 15,000 seats. In every country where tennis is played, men work hard for no personal gain, work hard for a game to which they have devoted their lives. Behind all this tremendous organization for 1951, the Davis Cup Council of Management, in an honorary capacity, were hard at work ensuring a success in all departments. The chairman of committees took some of the load, which meant no leisure and little sleep for many weeks. At the same time, the Interzone Final occupies more than the spare time of a similar imposing body of Melbourne professional and businessmen. May we introduce the president of the Lawn Tennis Association, Sir Norman Brooks.
I speak as one who has been associated with the Davis Cup since Australasia first entered in 1905. I know only too well the work attached to every committee. It is my duty as to thank them for what they have done, but I know that they would like you to realize that your enthusiasm for the game and the support you have given is an ample reward.
Tennis is played in every state in Australia, in every town. The interest in the sport is tremendous. Planes were chartered and they flew. They came by bus, by car, by train, boat and tram. The 6,000 seats in the Kooyong Stadium filled rapidly. The teams lined the ground and were inspected by the State Governor, Sir Dallas Brooks, attended by one of tennis' most ardent fans, the Prime Minister, the Right Honourable R.G. Menzies. Frank Shields chose Trabert and Schroeder, and Gunnar Galen, Bergelin and Davidson. The moment had arrived. Davis Cup history was about to be written. These two men were obviously conscious of their first Davis Cup game, but Trabert, America, finally assumed command. To quote Eric Reel, United Press, America, Tony Trabert defeated Davidson mainly because of superiority of service and immeasurable superiority of backhand. Nevertheless, the tennis standard was generally poor. 6-3, 6-4, 9-7. The Australian Broadcasting Commission audience was worldwide through Radio Australia. In addition, specially installed teletype transmitters soon flashed the news to a waiting world. 27 nations challenged, at least 30 are taking a keen interest. After a short spell, the vice-regal party resumed their seats to watch the team giants Schroeder and Bergelin. Now to find out whether the Swede had been keeping something up his sleeve. Right from the outset, it was clear that Bergelin would not play as well as he must have done in 1950. Schroeder blasted the Swedes' opening service, went to a 4-1 lead, and took the first set 6-2. In fairness to Bergelin, we should emphasize that Schroeder was playing the game of his life. His service was dynamic, and many of his volleys and backhands would left even Perry or Kramer gasping. He certainly gave the Australian selectors, in disguise dead centre, plenty to think about. And Sedgman and McGregor, never far apart, took it all in for future reference. Bergelin, now seen in slow motion, had been suffering from fibrositis for some time. We shall never know to what extent it affected his game. Losing only 1 point in the final service game, Schroeder took America to a 2-love lead, 6-2, 6-2, 6-4. The stands were again packed on the second day as Jack Kramer passes Savitt and Seychelles to take his seat. Mr. Brian Fuller, President of the New South Wales LTA, sits next to the Prime Minister. Mr. Fred Small and family, kind patrons of so many Australian teams in America. And another important visitor, Colonel Duncan Macaulay, Secretary of the All England Lawn Tennis Club. Hopes were raised at the start of the day's play. The Swedes attacked well and took the first set 12-10. But from the start of the second set, which was won by Trabert and Schroeder in 12 minutes, 6-love, the Americans gave nothing away. Davidson played well, but Bergelin was again out of touch. Although Schroeder's service was broken twice, and Harry Hopman was by no means asleep, the Americans went on to a clear-cut victory. Trabert finished the job with a sizzling ace. Ten, 12, 6-love, 6-3, 6-2. So it's America challenges Australia at the end of the year. $64 questions were now, would the American team be the same for the challenge round? Could Schroeder hold his form? Rose or McGregor? Was Australia that much better than the Swedes? Only time would tell. In a fortnight, the final battle will be staged. Australia and America will both benefit financially by the irrepressible clamour from tennis-loving Australians for seats at the challenge round. The price of seats kept many tennis players at home, but suburban clubs were able to help by purchasing tickets and running a lottery. The excited faces of the lucky seat holders bears testimony to the popularity of tennis in Australia. Meanwhile, the huge, though temporary, steel structure surrounding the centre court at White City, Sydney, nears completion. 30 miles of 2-inch steel pipe and 55,000 super feet of timber. By the end of January 1952, it will all have disappeared again. Naturally, the press followed every move and reported facts and views to their readers. Here, Ern Christensen of the Sydney Sun pumps cagey Captain Harry Hopman of Australia. Will it be Rose or McGregor? And Gail Talbot of the American Associated Press asked Frank Shields if Schroeder is overtrained. The newspapers try to anticipate the choice of the Australian selectors. Just prior to Christmas dinner, at a formal function in the Hotel Australia, Sir Norman Brooks and Mr. Donald W. Smith, American Consul General, gave us the answers. Rose, not McGregor, to play with Sedgman, and Schroeder and Seychelles, not Trabert, were the American singles players. 27 nations challenged this year. The eyes of the tennis-playing world were focused on Australia, December the 26th, 1951.
This is your challenge round commentator, Michael Charlton, speaking. The referee, Mr. Cliff Sproul, is ready. Ladies and gentlemen, International Lawn Tennis Championship, Davis Cup Challenge Round 1951. Match between Australia, the champion nation and holders of the cup, and United States of America, the challenger. Your umpire is Mr. J. O. Pettigrew.
The first match will be between M.G. Rose, representing Australia, and B. Sages, representing the United States of America. The best advantage sets, and B. Sages will serve in the first game. Linesmen ready. Players ready. Play.
This is the Davis Cup debut for both players. Naturally, they're nervous and the standard at the beginning is rather poor. Feeling their way, they net out and fault frequently, taking games service by service to 3-all. Here comes the point that gave Seychelles the break for 4-3. He went on to win that set 6-3. Rose is dejected as he loses his opening service second set. Seychelles had no difficulty holding his own, and things look grim for young Rose. Suddenly he seemed to throw off the worst of his stage fright and showed us why he was playing. This was calling the tune and was good enough to beat Seychelles if he could keep it going. Here comes a tragedy for Rose, although it didn't upset him. A winning smash, but his racket hit the net and was rightly called a foul shot. Watch the next point closely. Undaunted by earlier bad luck, Rose plays superb tennis covering the whole return area. But it wasn't good enough. Seychelles took that second set, 6-4. Here, the boot's on the other foot. Seychelles covers the net, although Rose makes little attempt to pass him. Rose started badly in the second set, too. Note Seychelles' forehand action. He tries that forehand again in this next rally, but Rose is ready for it. Seychelles gives him a chance, but there goes the game. Rose had to break Seychelles' service to give himself a chance. A delighted audience watched him fight his way to 3-2. Rose certainly made no serious mistakes in the next few games. But Seychelles is still the master. He seems to have an answer for every move by Rose. They fought an even battle from 3-all to 7-all, but Rose is weakening. In the next point, watch that Seychelles forehand again. It's worth studying. With the score at 8-7, Seychelles made no mistake with his own service. Here's the final point. America breaks away to a 1-love lead. The Australians hoped that the unorthodox left-hander with his swinging service would unbalance Victor Seychelles. It was not to be. Full marks to the American for a win at his first attempt. The weight was on Sedgman now if Australia was to have a chance. and that fact alone justifies the smile on the face of the American. During the few minutes break, the Prime Minister chats with Sir Norman Brooks while waiting for Sedgman and Schroeder to take the court. The same goes for Adrian Quist, reporting for the Sydney Morning Herald. Committee men take a well-earned rest. The organisation for this cup was justifiably praised as the best ever. Mrs. Shields chats to Mrs. Kramer. And from America, Arthur M. Lowe of MGM takes his seat. Savitt sits forward with notebook as play begins. Schroeder serving. Right from the jump, the battle was on. Two veterans, knowing the importance of a good start, hoe into each other. Schroeder is playing confidently, playing good tennis. Even so, he had to survive 3 deuce calls to win this opening game. Games went with service and the crowd was on its toes with excitement. Anything could happen. Yes, this was Davis Cup tennis at its best. Both men fighting for the break. The first man to get it will probably win. In the 5th game, Schroeder made his first mistake. He knows Sedgman will be coming in, tosses it to send him back, and it's out. Sedgman breaks through for a 3-2 lead. No other service break occurred, and Sedgman won that first set at 6-4. The tactics in the second were really a repetition of the first. Both were playing the same net-rushing game. Sedgman still has a slight edge over Schroeder. Score still 4-3 to Sedgman. Schroeder is using all the courtcraft he knows and is playing well, but Sedgman looks like Superman. He can't get past him. Watch tip point. Sedgman won the second set, 6-3, and the third started on a game-for-game basis to 3-all. Suddenly, Schroeder took charge. The game was reversed. Sedgman couldn't get up to the net and in turn was wondering how to pass Schroeder. Was the Australian idol collapsing? You could sense the increased tension. Arms on hips, Sedgman registers his concern. He can't stop Schroeder forging ahead. Full marks to Fighting Ted for taking a set from the world's best tennis player under these conditions. The players took a short spell, and Sedgman was again in charge when play resumed. They fought an even battle to 4-all. Now 24-year-old Frank Sedgman shows his championship ability. He won his own service and goes on to take Schroeder's for the match. Here's the final point. (6-4, 6-3, 4-6, 6-4). The score's a true picture of the fight. Schroeder's sportsmanship impresses all that watch him. In his last challenge round in Australia, he defeated John Bromwich. And today he takes defeat as he took victory then, happily and in the right spirit. In his speech to the listening world, he paid tribute to Sedgman's mastery with no excuses. Frank Sedgman was naturally happy. Australians were depending on him, and he hadn't let them down. The status quo was an even go, 1-1 in a line ball, both at bay, and 3 to play. The Americans had concentrated on doubles practice. This was expected to be the key game. They thought they could beat Rose, and if the doubles was in the bag, the Sedgman game wouldn't matter. But McGregor and Sedgman are one of the best doubles teams the world has produced. Australia feels quietly confident. McGregor, Australia to serve. Stand by for dynamite. The atmosphere was tense, the crowd roared its applause. You could sense the all-out battle just begun. McGregor, destined to be Australian champion 1952, is in the game with a vengeance. That brought up 40-30. Here's game point. That's it. First blood to Australia, 1-love. They went on to a 5-2 lead, and we come in as the Australians fight to take Schroeder's service again. It was in, deuce. The Americans took the advantage, and the next point will be game point to Schroeder. And it's in again. Deuce. Advantage Australia, but the Americans equalized. They start again. Advantage America. Deuce for the 5th time. This is Sedgman's second chance for Australia. Deuce for the 6th time. America took the next advantage, and here's a point that probably made Trabert really mad. Here are the final 2 points of that first set. Advantage Australia. Game and first set to Australia, 6-2 in 24 minutes. We tipped that Sedgman just told McGregor to serve to Schroeder's backhand, and McGregor certainly lets it go. 15-love. He went on to win this game easily. In the first set, Schroeder's service was the weakness in the American team, but in the second, the Australians can't break through. All are playing well as the score reaches 4-all. McGregor serving again, and game point. Australia leads 5-4 with Trabert to serve. Tony Trabert, on leave from the U.S. Navy, has certainly pulled his weight on this tour. His archback and distinctive flat service will play a big part in the Davis Cup story. 30-love. We come in again at game point, 40-15. Five all. Sedgman now serves in the 11th game of the second set from 30-15. Now for game point from 40-30, Sedgman still serving. The only other time these four men played in Australia in the New South Wales Championships, one set ran to 10-8, and this looked like being the same. Schroeder knows what's in the mind of these two, but he makes no mistake to Sedgman's sorrow. The score is 6-all, and Big Mac has the ball again, 15-love. Using every inch of his height, McGregor pounded that ball across the net, won the next 2 points, and serves now from 40-love. Down there, two teams are really tearing at each other, neither giving way an inch. Four men trained to the limit with energy to spare, and the weight is on Trabert again. 30-love. The next 3 points made it 40-30 as Trabert serves again. An awful lot depends on the service break in this second set. Yes, Sedgman won his service to Love for 8-7, which put the ball in Schroeder's corner. Every time he had it, he was in trouble. Score 15-40, set point, second set. Winning 2 straight sets gave Australia a ton of confidence. The games went with service to 4-3 when Schroeder lost his for the 4th time to send 5-3 on the scoreboard. We bring you the whole of the final game, McGregor serving. (15-love). (30-love). The crestfallen Americans have no chance against this kind of serving. The next one is almost unplayable. This is it. No one really expected a straight sets victory in 78 minutes. More power to this impressive team, McGregor and Sedgman. Wimbledon, French, United States and Australian champions. At the end of the doubles and before the players left the court, a presentation was made in the court area. Sir Norman Brooks, on behalf of a leading sports newspaper, handed a silver salver to Frank Sedgman. It is given annually to Australia's Sportsman of the Year, and Frank Sedgman was certainly a popular choice. With a few words, modest as usual, to the huge audience, and a handshake with Sir Norman Brooks, Sedgman joined his teammates as they left the court. This match was a test for young Mervyn Rose. He could win the cup for Australia or put the pressure on Frank Sedgman. Although the audience won plaudits for impartiality, there was little doubt their sympathy was with the younger player. They had watched him before. They knew he was good. They hoped he'd play well. The young Australian was certainly not so self-conscious as he was against Seychelles. Rose won his opening game, but the canny Schroeder had plenty up his sleeve. He goes to the net, but Rose sends him back with a good lob. They're both on the baseline. Rose goes in, and there's the champion Schroeder in action. Rose is plainly impressed. The Australian fought his way to a 3-1 lead but couldn't stay in front. But it must be maddening to play Schroeder. For 6 years he's produced his best shots just when the pressure was the greatest. From 3-1 they draw level at 4-all. Schroeder applies the pressure to break Rose's service again. The American goes on to win the set at 6-4, and these two now settle down to a marathon battle. Neither could handle the other's service comfortably. The tennis was not good, though exciting. Rose was playing better than in the last set, but although dangerous, he never actually broke through. "15 games gone in what was to prove a 24-game set. That was the last equalizing score. Here is the point that put paid to the fight. With 12-11 on the board and Schroeder to serve, the curtain is coming down on the second set, although Rose disputed every rally. With a little luck, he could have equalized. In 1947, Schroeder took 71 games to beat Denny Pales, and again he proves he likes this tough stuff. In the third set, mistakes by both players brought the score to 5-all, although Schroeder was definitely on top, and the break came in the 11th game. The set was won at 7-5, full point. Mervyn Rose had his chance in that match. Certainly a defeat was not disgrace, and it pays to remember that Ted Schroeder ranks with the best ever. He's an ex-Wimbledon champion and was playing in his 6th challenge round. Congratulations, Ted. You've put America on an even keel, and favourites have lost before. From the onlookers' point of view, the position couldn't be better. 2 matches each and 1 to go. None of us is likely to experience it, but we can guess the awful tension in the minds of these two players. Of the thousands watching, a large percentage are tennis critics. Their stamina is not likely to be questioned. Their courage might be. After all, it isn't just Sedgman and Seychelles, it's Australia and America. And here is Seychelles to serve. Seychelles took his opening game. One had the immediate impression that despite Sedgman's reputation, this man was going to fight. He was as fit as a fiddle and jumping out of his skin. Watch this point, a perfect backhand by Seychelles, a winner against any other player, and yet he loses. The Prime Minister, with movie camera on the extreme left, said later that Sedgman is a complete champion. Certainly he appears to be on top of his form. 1-1 in the first set. Each man won his own service to make 2-2, but we come in as Seychelles serves at the disadvantage of love 40. Out, 15-40. We said that Seychelles is fighting. He made it 30-40, and here comes, yes, deuce, and a grand recovery from love 40. Advantage Seychelles. Out, deuce again. Sedgman won the next advantage, and here's another possible end to that vital fifth game. Yes, Australia breaks through to a lead 3-2 in the first set, final match. Sedgman had no difficulty holding his service, but Seychelles started badly in the seventh game. It's love 30. Love 40 again. If he loses, the set is as good as lost. He fought back before. Can he do it again? Fault. Double fault. Amazing but true. At a really tense moment, Seychelles served a double fault to give Sedgman a 5-2 lead. Seychelles settled down and really gave Sedgman a battle in this next game. That sends up deuce.
Advantage Australia.
Deuce again. Seychelles took the next advantage and has the crowd with him as he crouches to face game point. Yes, not only the 15,000 here, but nearly 150 million listeners applaud the fighting spirit that broke Sedgman's service. Seychelles won his own easily, and if he can break Sedgman again, he'll draw level at 5-all. But the Australian would have to be playing badly to lose his service twice in succession. It doesn't look likely. There's 30 love. 40 love. Silence greets the champion as he serves for set point.
Game and first set to Australia at 6 games to 4.
Seychelles started very badly in the second set. Harry Hoffman's plan of campaign is working. Frank Sedgman quickly established a 5-2 lead again. He has a grip on the game, is serving very well, and shows no signs of letting up. 15 love. Here is the whole of the game that took the second set. Watch it. It's a wizard.
Left. 30-15.
Yes, there it goes. Second set to Sedgman and Australia in 14 minutes. Only a miracle can save Seychelles, but Sedgman doesn't weaken. He's playing superlative tennis and won't give Seychelles a chance. It can be said that Seychelles was, if anything, fighting too hard. He helped Sedgman by his own errors. Before the challenge round started, people pointed out that Sedgman had never won a big match at White City. He's certainly killing that bogey today. The Australian ran to a 4-love lead. The end was in sight, but Seychelles had no intention of making it a love set. Sedgman is clinching victory, but the crowd acclaims the fighting spirit of Victor Seychelles. One more game each made it 5-2. Here is the whole of the final game. Out. 15 love. Excitement is intense. This is the end of the challenge round of 1951, although Seychelles is still rushing that net, staving off defeat. 30 love. Sedgman comes up with a really beautiful serve. Watch that chalk. 40 love. This is it. Game, set, match and cup point. Oh, all right. Game, set, match and cup point again. Playing the game of his life, Frank Sedgman with a tennis racket has done more for Australia today than any publicity money can buy. Victor Seychelles, by his great effort and by his clean sportsmanship, has endeared himself to an enthusiastic audience. The net has faded away. The two opponents prove their sincere friends.
I'm sure the Prime Minister would like to tell you how thrilled he was with the whole matches, and he will then present the cup. Prime Minister.
Norman Brooks and ladies and gentlemen, it's very seldom that a wandering politician like myself is able to stand up in front of 15,000 people and be quite confident that they all agree with him.
We'll let the next few minutes speak for themselves. When one reflects on all the energy put into the fight, the international cooperation and organization for this very moment, perhaps symbolic of the underlying spirit of the game itself, that having won the knows what to do with it. The famous words of Trygve Lie seem to suit the occasion.
If the world could settle their differences in the same spirit prevails in Davis Cup competition, there would be no need to fear serious conflict among them.
Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, I am very, very proud indeed to have hold of the cup once again.
Australia understands and shares that pride, Sir Norman. From a tennis point of view, this is their finest hour. Frank Sedgman, Mervyn Rose, Ian Eyre, Harry Hopman and Ken McGregor. Congratulations, Mr. Hopman. Australia has won the cup only 3 times in 19. Each time yours was the hand at the helm. 1939, 1950 and Davis Cup 1951.